So hello and welcome to What's on Your Mind.
Thank you for having me on the show. I am Dawn Fields. I'm a writer, producer, director in Los Angeles. And I've done several short films, successful ones over the last few years. And now I'm about to start production on my first feature film, which was a different film we were going to launch until the COVID hit. And now I've come up with a new concept, a new film idea that can be shot completely remotely by the actors safely at home. So we're really excited about that. Yeah. So that's what I'm currently working on. Yeah.
Wow, that's a new technology there.
It's really kind of the same technology that we've had, but it's using that technology to tell a deeply emotional and moving story. You know, so you would think, oh, actors filming from home, you're kind of limited to how interesting that story could be. But the key is just, making the characters in their story compelling. You may be familiar with the short film I did a while back called Fragile Storm.
Yes.
And that
Loved it.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, that film
yes.
was very emotional, very powerful,
Yeah.
and it has a misdirect. You think one thing's happening, but really something else is going on. And I kind of took inspiration from that film, and that's what's happening in this film. This whole thing plays out one way, and then in the end, you find out something completely different was actually going on.
Man, that's amazing.
It's emotional. It has a lot of layers. It's very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, just like Fragile Storm. So it's kind of the feature Fragile Storm everybody was asking me about.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
With that said, with all that's going on with the pandemic and working on your projects, it seems like you're able to move forward and getting your projects out there and done and produced and taking it to the next level.
Well, there's a lot of talk going on about how safe is a set and what are all the things we can do to make a set safe. And what I'm finding is that there's a lot of documents and a lot of safety protocols that people are putting down on paper that they think sound good, but we're finding that those things aren't being very effective. We've already had the Scott Baio, Christy Swanson film shut down for COVID safety noncompliance.
What happened there?
They haven't released the details of exactly why it was shut down, but they did cite that they were in violation of COVID safety protocols. So what we know is on SAG and union films, they are requiring a new position called a compliance safety officer, which is kind of similar to a studio teacher back when when you have, not back when, even now, when you have minors, back when I did this, I've actually had that experience a couple times. But it's similar in nature to the studio teacher that comes on set when you have a minor. They are there to make sure certain safety protocols are in place. Everything is, certain guidelines are followed, and they do have the ability to shut down your movie.
Wow.
Unlike the studio teachers, though, my understanding is these COVID safety officers are a lot more expensive. They're kind of like on the same level with like a stunt coordinator. So that tells me you're looking at around $1,000 a day for an 8-hour day.
Yeah, but it has to be.
Yeah, and then you're supposed to divide your crew into 3 different pods, so they're not all intersecting and being in the same areas at the same time. That's one level of measure, and then another one is you're supposed to have dedicated crew just to wipe and clean things down.
Yes.
So when we talk about these things in some of my groups, we always go like this as producers. It's like, yep, there goes your budget. So
Exactly.
the bottom line is it's just all this is going to cost more money.
Right. For the filmmakers, what I'm hearing, though, in reference to the reality side of things, is like the reality producers are scrambling because I was reading an article on Deadline. They're scrambling so that they can get space on a studio lot. Because on the studio lot, you can kind of make it as a fort where everybody is on that one location and can't move around and things like that. So a lot of studios are like, wow, they were down, but now they're going to be able to make a lot of money from these reality producers. What do you think about that?
Well, I haven't heard a lot about reality TV because I don't really intersect with that so much, but I can tell you that Tyler Perry has come up with Camp Quarantine, which is that kind of on a larger scale. You know, he has this massive compound in Atlanta, and he was very smart a while back. He has a back lot, and instead of building just facades of houses, he went ahead even back before all this and built them as real houses with running water and everything. So he found, he found himself in a really unique position to just kind of close everything off, bring everybody in for the duration of the shoot, test everybody before, keep everybody tested along the way, but just kind of shut it down and lock everybody in basically. Yeah. And I think that's probably the only real way you can do it.
You can do it. Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Any advice for, with this pandemic, a lot of young producers, up and coming producers were hoping to get their projects out and things like that and begin working on their first shot. What advice can you, or do you have any advice to share with them to keep them motivated to, even in this pandemic, to keep their projects going? You know, like you were saying, that whole technique about having your, when you're shooting with that current movie that you're doing and shooting with a different technique. Can you give any insight, a little bit more, on giving them encouragement?
Well, are you referring to like low budget independent filmmakers who don't have a lot of resources normally? Well, here's the problem. Without enough of a budget or resources to abide by these new union and guild safety protocols, first of all, forget using SAG actors. Forget getting insurance. Forget being able to, like low budget filmmakers have always been guerrilla style and doing things, without permits and on the fly and with their friends and stuff like that. And, that was fine until now. People's health may be at risk when you do that. So I personally feel like there's a responsibility to tell filmmakers like that, just don't try it. Just don't. I mean, if you live in a city or in an area that hasn't been affected much by the virus and everybody's kind of walking around on a normal day-to-day basis doing things relatively unaffected, maybe, but just understand, I always say it's kind of like pregnancy. It just takes the one to get into your set, and then everybody's life changes. So I mean, you could maybe have just a few friends get sick, have mild symptoms, have no symptoms, but on the other end of that, who might get what from who and take it and give it to who?
To someone else. Exactly.
Yeah. So there's just so, I've been telling people from the start, I'm like, look, until we have better PPE, personal protection equipment, masks that cover our eyes, nose, and mouth safely, comfortably, don't cause fatigue, something we can wear for hours on end, until we have that, and until we have affordable, reliable, instant testing, meaning every day on set, at the beginning of the day, you need to instantly be able to test your cast and crew. Not take a temperature, that doesn't help. Literally have an insta-read accurate test that you can rely on. I don't see how anybody, even in the camp quarantine, because you're having to trust. There's two levels of trust here. If you want to be hired on someone's show, you have to trust that producer and everybody else is going to act in compliance and be safe, right?
Exactly.
But then if you're the producer, you also have to trust that all your cast and crew are not going to sneak out one night, do something irresponsible, and bring something onto your set. So I've been saying for months, until we can test everybody every day and kind of operate within that camp quarantine style, I just don't see how anything's really going to be safe.
Do you think that the governor here in relation to the entertainment industry has been doing a good job of trying to navigate those guidelines, and like you were saying, the PPE and things like that? Have they come up to the level of making this happen, making it work? It's so much of the industry, the entertainment industry here in California.
The reason I'm hesitating is because the two biggest problems that we're having industry-wide are PPE and testing. Right. And that's not coming from the government, from even the city or the state level. Unfortunately, our president, and I'm not trying to speak ill of him for anyone who's a Trump supporter, but the truth is the president doesn't want testing because he doesn't want anybody to know the real numbers. He's said that. I'm not saying he said that or putting that on him. He's actually admitted to that and said that on camera. And for some reason, there's not enough effort and movement being put on proper PPE for people who are outside of the healthcare system. And I don't understand that, because I know initially they're like, okay, whatever N95, I just want to explain something really fast. N95 masks are the ones that protect both ways, right?
Right, both ways, yeah.
Everything else is less effective. Now, you can get the cheaper surgical masks, and those are a lot better. I think they keep out like 95% of stuff. The cloth masks and these things that we're all having to make at home and buy from friends and neighbors who are making them at home is a lot less effective. They're still better than nothing because they keep your droplets in, but they're not 100% effective. So I can't figure out why there isn't a worldwide movement for everybody to stop everything they're doing and give us proper protection. That way, that's the only way the country can open back up and people can go back to work and enjoy things and be even anywhere near each other physically. And I don't understand the reluctance to stop everything and do the testing and the proper PPE for everyone. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. As we can tell by them opening states by states by state, and people are going out and venturing out. Now the cases seem to be rising.
Well, two things happened today. Florida has had over 4,000 new cases. That's their highest daily new case rate.
Yes.
And now they're saying several hospitals in Florida have officially run out of ICU beds.
See? And then what do we do? But you have someone, like you said, not speaking ill will of this president, but you hear that, you would think that he and his staff will be gung-ho about, hey, this is going to escalate further.
You have to in some regards, like we all know that I think it's president, forgive me if there's a different term for it, but I believe the president of Brazil has now kind of been quoted as saying, let them die, the older population, it's less of a stress on our economy. I mean, it's he's just kind of come out and saying it, but I feel like our government is just kind of doing it without saying it.
Exactly.
And it's mind-boggling. It seems to me like they want to thin the herd. It seems like that's what they want.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling, and I don't understand why the film industry, with some kind of power it may have through celebrities and high-powered executives,
and the money and the resources,
like, do something about it. Come on, it's like, okay, Bill Gates, let's wait on the vaccine. That's fine, or maybe put a separate crew on that. You have enough money. Let's put a new crew on testing and masks.
Well, the governor, when it first hit, when the storm really hit, which I was really happy that the governor here was doing, he was reaching out to the celebrities that had money so that he could go ahead and purchase, because the federal government wasn't giving the state anything. Because this president doesn't like California. Let's just put it out there. He doesn't like California. So the governor took the initiative to go out to these celebrities or high-profile, wealthy individuals and say, "Help us. We need this stuff." But now we still need more.
I would think that any company could make protective masks, just like respirators, and gas masks. There are things out there that are similar to the types of protection we would need. It's the testing, I believe, that has to be approved through the FDA, the CDC, all these kind of things. And that's where the real holdup is, because the government does have control over those agencies. And we are living in a time where we are now understanding for the first time that the WHO and the CDC cannot be trusted. That is so disturbing.
I know, it's so bad.
So disturbing. What do you do with that?
Yeah.
What do you do with that information?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's crazy. In a pandemic, in a global pandemic, we can't trust the WHO or the CDC.
Right.
What's happening? And
it's shameful. It's
I don't think that the film industry is focusing on the right solution. I think they're trying to find all these ways to keep a set clean and safe and pretend everybody's going to do what you ask them to do. But no, people, filmmakers are by nature mavericks and rule breakers and stuff like that. So you couldn't get me on a low budget, non-union independent set right now. No way. No way. No way. I don't even think you could get me on a big union. Maybe on a Tyler Perry Camp Quarantine set, maybe.
Right, yeah.
But that's not foolproof. And his plan includes Teamsters and other union members wearing hazmat suits. And I've had several people in G&E departments telling me there is no way I'm wearing a hazmat suit.
Wow.
And then there are other people saying you do what you got to do. But
it's just amazing how I did read also too that if you in doing a scene, and if there's a quote unquote sex scene or what have you, and you have to really interact with that individual really close up, they've stated that you only have seconds, and someone is going to be next on the set counting those seconds, and then once they're done, they have to immediately disperse from one another.
See, this is why I keep saying people are focusing on the wrong solutions, because if you had a set where you could test those people every day and you knew those two people were negative, what is the problem?
Right.
It's there. People are focusing on the wrong solutions.
Yeah, I think also it may be too that because this virus, we just don't know how it's mutating so weird and crazy and all that.
Right.
And they've been saying that some people just don't know they may be a carrier.
Right.
So I can see how the apprehension that the industry is like, okay, you're going to do this scene, but you only have seconds and you have to break away because you still, even though if you test negative, you still could be a carrier.
Well, here's one thing I want to say too. I feel like if this is your business and your industry and you have to keep making films because you're going to lose your livelihood and all that, that's one thing. Then you kind of have to figure things out because you can't just go do something else for a year. But if you're an independent filmmaker just doing this as a hobby or because it's a passion or whatever, you may want to consider just being responsible and just taking a little teeny tiny break. Because I know your initial question was, what can you say to motivate and encourage those people? I in good conscience, I can't. I absolutely can't, because they're not in a position to do things safely. If they want to go out and do it anyway, that's fine. I can't endorse it or encourage it. And you know, because like my sister turned out to have it and she didn't even know she had it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah. That's a whole personal story. That was terrible because she's
I saw that on Facebook. You had mentioned, yes.
She's a bartender in Georgia, and the Georgia bars and restaurants opened up way too early weeks ago. And I said, tell me you're not going back to work. And she said, I am. And I'm like, oh, I freaked out. I'm like, please don't, please don't. And she's like, no, I have to. I feel like I have to. And sure enough, she needed some surgery. They have to test you for surgery before they let you go in. And that's how she find out. So who knows who she spread it to in that time. Ironically, her husband didn't have it, didn't get it from her. So there's so much about this thing we don't know. And I've been telling people, look, if we're going to be living with this thing possibly forever, there's little chance that any of us will live our whole lives and never get it. But I keep telling people, I don't want it now. Because they still don't know enough about it. They still don't have proper treatments. They don't have the vaccine. They don't know what it does to the body still. Now it's a blood clotting disease as opposed to a respiratory disease. And think about all those poor people that got put on ventilators. Now they're finding out that wasn't the right course.
That wasn't helpful. I heard about that.
For many of them, it killed them.
It really killed them. Yeah, it wasn't helpful.
So that's why I keep telling people, it's, you know, I don't do the first generation of anything, computers or otherwise, you know, so I'm like, I'm going to sit back and wait. I'm going to come up with an idea I can shoot safely and wait it out. And if I hadn't been able to come up with that, I would teach classes. I would find a YouTube channel. I would find some other way to make money in the meantime, because creating any on-set environment right now is not 100% safe, no matter how you try to do it.
Yeah.
Not without the testing and the proper PPE.
Totally agree.
Not going to happen. It's irresponsible and selfish to keep trying and go, oh no, we can make it work. We can make it safe. And you're putting people's health at risk.
Lives in danger, all to make $1.
If you try to argue that that's worth making a movie, you're going to get, a lot of people in the industry can feel you on that and go, yeah, you're right. Anything for the show. Right? I came up through the 90s doing anything, literally. The attitude was anything for the show. Stunt people are like that. They will literally risk their lives for a movie and to get a good stunt pulled off. And, it's just,
it's different. It's different.
It's different now. It's different now. You got other people to think about than just if you die in that scene. Right.
Exactly. In closing, is there anything you want to tell anyone, any further comments you'd like to give to our audience about anything in regards to the entertainment industry? Because you have a wealth of knowledge of what you're involved in.
Well, I could talk forever, but to wrap it up, I will say, like I said, I want to be supportive of independent filmmakers, but if you just don't have the resources because here's the thing, I don't want to go back onto a movie set and put my cast and crew at risk until somebody's done it successfully. Maybe several people have done it successfully. And just because the first 10, 12, or 15 are successful doesn't mean they didn't just get lucky.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to make sure that there's a really proven, effective, safe way to have a film set. And until that happens, I'm not putting people's lives at risk. Because I told my group before, I said, look, you don't want to be that first film that gets in the trades as the one that got shut down. And look, everybody's talking about the Scott Baio movie, right?
Right.
I didn't want to be that movie.
Right.
You'll never outgrow that. It'll never go away.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you, Dawn. It's been a pleasure for taking your time out to speak to us. And this is the show, What's on Your Mind, and you provide us a wealth of information. So
it's my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you for having me.
Soon. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.